take the appropriate measures to limit kids under 16 from opening social media accounts as soon as the law comes into force.
The Liberals introduced a new bill, Bill C-34. Let's ban all children 16 and under from social media. Who doesn't want to protect children? We all do. But what is the absolute best way to do it? Is it the government intervention, or is it parenting? Or is it the school system? But we all know the Liberals always want to be in charge. That's what the lefties do. People on the left think that they are smarter and better than you. In this report, we're going to cover this new bill. I've read all 150 pages of it so that you don't have to. Oh, and I discovered a whole lot of gold nuggets. Then what I'm going to do is cover the UK, EU, and Australia. They've already approved such bills that we're contemplating here in Canada. How's it going in those countries protecting those children? And how is this going to affect you and the way that you use the internet? And what are the risks associated with this new bill? Because there is a long list of risks based on the way that this is written. By the end of this report, you're going to be able to come up with your own conclusions on whether you think this is a good or bad thing. Let's get into this report. You know what concerns me the most? I want you to meet Canada's AI minister right here, Evan Solomon, showing us how high tech Canada has become. And these are the people that are creating these new bills for us in Canada. After you see this, I probably don't even need to go over this bill with you, but we're going to take a look at this. Then we are going to be taking a look at this bill.
So this is it. So we have 10 minutes to vote, and this is what it is. And then we can stop this silliness and I'd rather stop this democracy. Just got to make sure I know what the vote is. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. We got to check. It's a yay. It's a yay.
Awesome.
It does matter. It does matter. So this is your vote, and then there's a digital camera. So you have to do this. We have a backup system here. Again, I know this seems theatrical, but literally it's happening right now. Fatini, can you just do your thing?
No, I'll just sit here and look at
This
you.
is democracy. Facial encryption. Test your face. And that says try that again. Oh, is that true? Okay. Holy sh! Okay, look at. Let's see. Thank God I got a coach. If the Minister of AI can't get this right, then there's a real issue. Okay, I'm going to do it against a really solid background, because obviously this light is not working. So hold on. I mean, this is. We've already burned through our time here. Yes. Submit. Okay.
So here we have Canada's AI minister unable to do facial recognition for us. And these are the people that we are going to be trusting, protecting our children. Before we get into the bill, 14-year-olds are allowed to register as a Liberal, vote on policies, nominate candidates, and elect a leader. But they can't inform themselves on the issues on the internet. If they're not going to allow 16-year-olds and under to use social media, maybe they should update their Liberal policy rules and say you can't register to be a Liberal until you're at least able to use social media. Before we go over the bill, I want to explain how I would protect children. Who actually cares about children the absolute most? The parents. The parents want the well-being of their own children. So I believe the best way to protect children online is to educate the parents. Plus, we have AI now. So we could actually use AI to help out parents. One way is we make parents download an app in order for their children to have access to social media. This AI app would track all the activity of their children. This app would provide parents with a report that shows any concerning behavior of their children. So what website they went on, and also what they discussed. If there's anything to be flagged inside this app, it also gives direction to the parent on how they should talk to their children about a certain topic that they talked about on social media. If you get the parents more involved with their children and discussing safety online, that is the absolute best way to protect children online. Now, let's take a look at this bill. Let's take a look at Section 27. What does the bill really say? Social media operators must ensure no person who has not reached the age specified in the regulation uses or creates an account. Section 27. The government has already signaled it intends this age to be 16. Regulations will spell out the exact measures, Section 28, but platforms can apply for exemption if they prove sufficient safeguards. Why is this confusing or problematic for regular Canadians? Age verification nightmare. How exactly will platforms confirm that you're 16 years old? The bill leaves it to future regulation, but a common method around the world is uploading your government-issued ID, facial recognition scans, credit card checks, and third-party biometrics. This means handing over your sensitive information and data to private companies. With all the breach risks that we're seeing around the world, we're going to trust these big mega giants with our most sensitive information. How do you feel about that? And what happens for these 13 to 15-year-olds that get locked out entirely? Parents who use family accounts or teens who rely on social media for their school projects could be cut off. And what about the enforcement uncertainty? What happens to a 15-year-old that lies about their age? The bill doesn't say. Platforms will probably overblock to avoid massive fines. We're going to talk about the massive fines. This is going to create frustration and workarounds like VPNs and fake accounts. Now let's take a look at Section 31 to 47. Social media platforms have a duty to make certain content inaccessible. I'm going to summarize this so that you don't have to read all of these sections, but where's the problem here? So they cover this a bunch of times. Fomented hatred and incites violence are subjective. A heated political post, a meme, or a protest video could easily fall in this category depending on who is deciding. Platforms are going to err on the side of over removal to avoid the 3% global revenue fine, more shadow banning, deleting comments, or algorithmically hidden content that regular users will never see. So regular Canadians that are posting opinions, even factual ones or controversial topics, may find their content quietly suppressed without clear appeal rights. If you find yourself in a gray zone, they go, you know what? The algorithm decided that what you said was potentially falls in one of these gray categories. You don't even have an ability to appeal. Let's move on to Section 88, which is administrative penalties. The administrative penalties could reach $10 million or 3% of the operator's global revenue for a violation. Criminal style offenses could be even higher, 5% and $20 million in some cases. Why is this confusing or problematic? Big tech giants like Meta, TikTok, X they could actually absorb this, but smaller Canadian apps, forms, they could be absolutely crushed. Cost will almost certainly be passed on to users, higher ad loads, paid verified tiers, and reduced fee features. This whole thing's gonna cost a fortune. If these big social media giants get all these fines from the government, they're gonna pass that bill off to you. So our costs are gonna go way higher. They're gonna have way more ads. We're gonna be flooded with ads to pay for all of this stuff. Oh yeah, and with all of these fees, and with these fines being so high, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna be hyper cautious. They're gonna be way more aggressive on censorship of any of the borderline content, which could be anything because there's a gray zone. It's not well defined. Let's move to section 73 and 74, a new digital safety commission with very broad powers. This brand new regulator gets sweeping direction with almost no procedural safety guardrails. Regular users and creators facing a takedown might feel like the process is arbitrary. They're also going to be collecting inventories of electronic data. The bill requires consultation with the RCMP and Privacy Commissioner, but doesn't limit what can be shared. Privacy risks much? Your posts, your messages, your AI chats could end up in these inventories without your knowledge. We're moving along to section 42, 58, 59. Digital safety plans must be public. Every single regulated service must submit and publish a detailed digital safety plan explaining the risks and how they're going to mitigate them. Good in theory for transparency, but the platforms will likely make plans that are ultra conservative to avoid liability, even stricter content rules than the law requires. These mega giants, they're going to make it so conservative. There's no chance that they're going to be fined the $10 million fee. Small operators in Canada like Canadian Forums and niche apps, they're definitely going to struggle to produce these professional grade documents. And here's a massive catch that nobody's even considering. Everything important is left to future regulation and commissions. Dozens of sections inside this document says measures in regulations or specified by commissions. For example, age verification details, exact harmful content rules, and design features and other things. Here's the problem for regular Canadians just like you. You won't even know the real rules until months or years later after the bill has already passed. The government can tweak almost everything behind closed doors via government in council regulations. That means you could literally not know any of the rules. They could do all sorts of things behind closed doors after this thing's approved, and you won't even know what they're doing. Let's talk about chatbots now. They get their own regulations, section 48 to 57. They must prevent harmful behavior and have emergency crisis plans. Useful tools could become more censored and neutralized. That's for everybody, not just children. And then also section 68 to 72, compliance systems. You can go over the platform's head of commission if they don't remove certain content fast enough. Sounds helpful, but it could flood the system and lead to inconsistent rulings. There's something called no fixed start date. The act comes into force by order, section 130. Platforms might start changing things early in caution, creating confusion. So how does this really affect you as a Canadian? The bill is clearly aimed to protecting children from real harm, cyberbullying, exploitation, self-harm content, a goal most parents support. However, the combination of vague rules, massive financial penalties, and a powerful new regulator and a heavy reliance on future regulations creates a high risk of over-censorship, privacy invasions via age verification, and higher cost and reduced freedom, on a platform where millions of Canadians spend their time. Small creators, teens, and anyone posting edgy or political content are most likely to feel the squeeze first. But I got some good news for you, Canada. This thing's not approved yet. It's actually just in first reading. There still needs to be a second reading. It needs to go to committee. It needs Senate approval. So could be a lot of changes from now until then. Let's take a look at other countries that already approved this thing. I'm sure that children are safe in those countries now, right? You know what makes me very uncomfortable? Is Emmanuel Macron from France says, thanks for joining the movement. Ottawa wants to ban access to social media for those under the age of 16, and this is his response. If Emmanuel Macron is celebrating Canada banning children from social media, immediately I'm like, this is bad. This is very, very bad. Let's take a look at Australia. There's an article that just came out, the Globe and Mail reported on Reuters, and they said, I think it's fair to say that the model in Australia that they're trying is not successful. Several reviews suggest high non-compliance, including a paper released in April that shows only about 1/4 of 14 to 15-year-olds have stopped using banned platforms. They include social media behemoths such as Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. That means 75% of children are still using the platforms. How are they doing this? VPN, fake accounts. And now, because they're doing the workaround, there's really no safety guardrails whatsoever because they're on the internet as adults. They could go into anything they want. So they created another problem. So it's backfiring on the country significantly. They tried to solve this problem and they created an even bigger problem. I also came across this article. Canada moves to ban people under 16 from social media despite backlash from the UK and Australia. There's a section of this article I want to read. This section. Teenagers are smart. They always find a way to work around to access social media. But overall, the ban can be extremely harmful for those who choose not to, as it disconnects them from support groups, group chats, and mechanisms to stay in touch with distant friends or loved ones. Age checks have already sparked backlash. Canada's proposal comes after age check rules spark backlash in places like the UK, where age verification systems become a source of controversy over Britain's most tattooed man. Claim one system told him to remove his mask. It mistook his tattooed appearance for a mask. But this last sentence says it all. The government say the bill is aimed at protecting young people online, but the proposal is now entering the same debate that's hit in UK and Australia, whether age checks can actually keep kids safe without creating new privacy and enforcement problems. What I don't understand is what's with all the lefties across the world trying to create all of these regulations. And this is one of the most concerning parts about the bill. The open-ended bill, if passed, would give Carney the powers to regulate digital content that causes significant psychological or physical harm. The bill also gives Carney the sole power to define what that means. Oh, I'm sure that this is going to age absolutely perfectly. And all of this is coming from a government that wants to do committee meetings behind closed doors. Turn off all the cameras. We want Canadians for the next 30 years not to know what we discussed in these committee meetings. The least transparent government in Canadian history that stole a majority is now introducing bills like this that we're supposed to say, you're trying to protect our children? I'm sure this is going to be perfectly normal and okay. Are they going to discuss all these things behind closed doors without cameras as well? And in a year from now, when they do the regulations after this thing's approved, and then we find out about all of the rules that they're going to put in place, and these big tech giants are going to have $10 million fines if they don't comply with all the things that they do. We're entering a massive censorship for all users. We're not protecting children. They're going to find a way around this thing. And us Canadians are going to be censored Because if you have any opinion about anything that they don't like, you are not going to be showing up on the algorithmic feeds. That's for sure. This is what we're hearing from the UK. It's acting as a tool for crisis time narrative control. Political commentators and everyday educators report faster removals, demotion of edgy commentary, and platforms erring on the side of deletion. Satire and independent journalism, those have been hit the hardest. This looks less about protecting children and more about something completely different. The best way to protecting children online is parenting. You need to educate the parents on how to protect your children because parents love their children and want them to be safe. So if you actually created an app where the parents had to sign in to allow their kids to use social media and the app tracks the children and also warns the parents about their usage, that would literally protect the children. This new regulation is going to be a massive censorship campaign because major platforms do not want to receive a $10 million fine. So they're just going to start deleting things left, right, and center. And this goes for just like educational content or somebody covering the news or somebody covering something political or just an open discussion. All of this stuff could fall into the gray zone, and algorithms, they don't know what you're talking about. It's not going to be human review. So this thing could definitely cause a lot of problems for content creators or just Canadians voicing their opinions or sharing stuff online. Love to hear from you in the comment section. I'm going to do a lot more deep dive on this subject as more information becomes available. I'll see you on the next report.